Bantam Audio Publishing presents a Dell production of Canyons by Gary Paulson. Soon he would be a man. Not after months or years as it had been, but in a day. In a day, Coyote Runs would be a man and take the new name which only he would know, because finally, after 14 summers, they were taking him on a raid. He had difficulty believing it. For this summer and 2 summers past, he had gone time and time again to the old place, the medicine place, the ancient place in another canyon only he knew about, and prayed for manhood, all for nothing. For the whole of this summer and 2 summers past, he had been ignored, thought of as still a boy, and now it was upon him. In the morning he had risen early and walked away from the camp before the fires yet smoked, and gone to the stream to rinse his mouth and take a cool drink, and nothing seemed different. He had gone to the ponies and looked at them, and thought how it would be some day to own a pony, 2 of them, many of them when he was a man, and could go on raids to take horses and a Mexican saddle with silver on it, like Magpie had done when he became a man, and who could now walk with his neck swollen. All someday. That's how he thought then, in the morning. It would all come someday. He would be an Apache warrior and ride down past the Bluebelly's fort, across the dirty little river into Mexico, and prove that he was a man. Someday. After he had watched the pony herd for a time, he walked back to the huts in the early morning sun and saw that his mother was making a fire to heat a pot of stew made from a fat steer they had taken from Carnigan's ranch. The rancher had many such steers and did not mind when the village took one. Coyote Runs liked to watch his mother make fire. She was round and her face shone in the sun, and her hands were so sure when she piled the sticks and struck the white man's lucifer stick to make the fire that he thought of her as not just his mother, but the mother of the fire, as she was the mother of the stew and the wood and the sand and the hut and Coyote Runs, the mother of all things. Then Magpie had come out of his hut where he slept with his family, though he was a man, because he did not have his own wife yet. He saw Coyote Runs sitting near his mother and came to him and squatted next to him in the dirt. "It is a fine morning," he said, which caused Coyote Runs to look at him because his voice was light and teasing. A fine morning, to be a man. Coyote Runs said nothing but had a sour taste in his mouth. It was not like Magpie to make fun of him or to be proud so that it showed in a teasing voice. "I have heard stories," Magpie said. And now Coyote Runs could tell that he was teasing openly, but he was smiling and his eyes were not mean. "What kind of stories?" "I have heard stories of a new raid to where the silver saddles are, a raid which will leave tomorrow, a raid which will have all the warriors on it." Coyote Runs felt it now, the small excitement that came from surprises. "All the warriors and men there are. Tell me, warrior, do you have a pony?" "I'm going?" Coyote Runs tried to keep his voice even. Magpie smiled wider and nodded. "It is thought that you could come to hold the horses and see how it is to be on a raid. Sancta said it, said you could come by name." Coyote Runs thrilled inside but tried to remain cool, not show it as was proper, for a man, as a man should act. Sancta was a scarred old man who could not be touched by arrows or bullets, who had led all the raids since Coyote Runs knew there were raids. Sancta decided who would go and who would stay, and he had decided. "I do not have a proper pony for war, but it is perhaps true that I have a friend with a pony?" He looked pointedly at Magpie. "Do I have such a friend?" Magpie nodded. "I will loan you that small brown pony with the white eye, until you can get your own." until I can get my own. Magpie stood. I think I will go down to the stream now and clean myself. Coyote Runs nodded, but did not stand. Inside he was ready to explode, but he remained cool. Yes, the water was good this morning. And he thought, I am to be a man. I am going on a raid, and I am to be a man. There was much to do. He must ready himself and his bow and check his arrows. He must make certain that everything was the best that it could be. I am to be a man. There was much to do. Brennan Cole lived in El Paso, Texas, and each afternoon after school he ran. He did not run from anything and did not run to anything. Did not run for track, nor did he run to stay in shape and lose weight. He ran to be with himself. He was tall and thin and healthy, with brown hair that grew thick and had to be cut often, and because he ran in shorts with no shirt and wearing a headband instead of a cap, and because El Paso sits at the base of Mount Franklin and burns in the hot sun for most of the year, he was the color of rich burnt leather. He did not know his father. He lived alone with his mother, and when he was home, which was less and less as he approached 15, and his mother spent more and more time working to live, working to be, working to feed and clothe her only son, the two of them existed in a kind of quiet tolerance. She did not dislike him so much as resent the burden she thought he was, and he did not dislike her so much as want to relieve her of the burden. He was still too young for fast food jobs, but he mowed lawns for a lawn care service, working for an old man named Stoney Romero, who paid him in cash and did not ask questions, nor give answers except to aim Brennan at yards with a mower. Brennan did not make much, but he fed himself and bought clothes for school and special shoes. For his running, he thought now, turning on Yandell Street, headed for the apartment over the house where he and his mother lived. I need money only for shoes for running. It is all I need to do. To run is all there is. When I'm running, it is all, everything, nothing matters. Not the father that I do not know, or the mother that does not know me, or the school that I hate, or money or not money. All of that disappears when I run. When I float. When I run and float. God, he thought. His legs felt like they belonged to somebody else, somebody who never became tired. And when he looked down at them, pumping, driving, moving him forward, they marveled him. From all the running, from the daily running in the streets and up the hills, they had become so strong he didn't know them. There was traffic, but he keyed his steps and ran across the street at an angle, picking up speed as he passed in front of an Army pickup from Fort Bliss. I can run for all of time. Run forever. It was May and very hot, close to 90 in the shade. But dry heat, always dry heat in the desert, and it didn't take him down. Nothing took him down, except being home. There was that, he thought, turning up the block and seeing their apartment and his mother's old Volkswagen, knowing that he would not be able to be with himself any longer. Only home took him down. She had company. She belonged to one of those parents without husbands groups or whatever they were, and from time to time she would bring different people around, and he would have to meet them. They all wanted to share and care and get in touch with their feelings and on and on. The first few times they had come and met with his mother in their kitchen, he had thought it might be all right, and that his mother might get out of herself. But after a time and many, many meetings, it just seemed that she was spending all her time messing with herself and not trying to really fix anything. And I have to go in, he thought. I have to work for Stoney, and that means I have to change clothes and get jeans on to go to work, and that means I have to go inside. If it were not for that, he would run past the apartment and keep running for a half hour or so until the company was gone. Maybe if he just whipped in and changed, he could get away before he got nailed. But it didn't work that way. He ran up the back steps and into the kitchen where his mother was sitting with a man. He was pleasant enough, tall, slightly heavy, with short hair. "Brennan," his mother said, "I'd like you to meet Bill Halverson." Brennan nodded. "Hi." "Hi." And that was it, or he thought it was. Later he would think back on this time. Later when he had begun to try to find his spirit and see the dance of the sun. Later when his life was torn to pieces and he was trying to make it whole again, he would look back on this exact moment when it started and wonder how it could be. How anything so big could come from something so small and simple. Hi. Hi. And it changed his whole life.